What's going on, gamer? So I guess we got a bit of assault video here because somebody said that I was doing misinformation and I wasn't. And then I ran into my boy Bruv earlier on his video. Glad to see you coming back, bro. Awesome. But there's somebody I have to check that left a comment though. Shout out to Bruv though, back on the scenes roasting dudes. I see you, brother. This guy comes in. I was like, glad to see you back more, bro. Cheers. This Spidey loves Xbox. Okay, I I understand. You're an Xbox fanboy. Says, whoa, it's Nintendo's biggest fanboy. So he's butthurt about what I've been saying and telling the truth. I got to get this out the way real quick, y'all. Princess Peaches and Cream, stay in your lane. Better watch out who you talking to. Yeah. These eyes have seen and judged you now. Mortal, get back in your place. How dare you disrespect us? Nah, but you gonna need those spider senses now. Let's take a look at this picture. We're gonna need an RIP stone for him after this. You're gonna need Wolverine in his defensive claws. You're gonna need the whole X-Men force because the fire the AGN is conjuring up is about to roast not only your body, your mind, and your heart, but your soul. RIP. Don't call me out again and tell me to stay in my lane. No, you stay in your lane. You're out of your lane calling somebody out way more powerful and intelligent than you. Sit down. All right, now let's move on to some of these other videos. So a lot of people were obviously not really happy about some things here, and I understand that. You know what I mean? There are certain people that really like Game Pass. I'm one of them, but as I told people, I have to tell the truth. So we're going to have to check some people in the comments. First, let's start off with the video today. Calm, I don't have anything against you. I see you're also an Xbox Defense Force individual, so it's okay. Calm those Power Ranger. Powers down a little bit for Microsoft. The only reason you're getting called out is because you said I was doing misinformation, so we're going to have to check you here. So there's a lot to check here. He says, AGN, where are you getting this? Train everybody to think this way, because I said, Microsoft has trained the majority of their base that if you get on Game Pass, you're not thinking about buying a game. You get comfortable. Even I felt that way. The whole world knows this. Why are you asking me a question that's been obvious in front of people's face for almost a decade now? Game Pass has been around a long time now. If you don't notice that, it's crazy because the attachment ratio on Xbox is literally under 1% for the mass majority of literally almost every single game. Even getting 1% is hard. You see what I'm saying? Do you know what 1% is of 30 million? You see what I'm saying? 10% of 30 million. You see what I mean? Like some of these games are not selling even 1 million. You know what I mean? You look at these third-party games, they're selling nothing. That's why they put them in that position to get the paycheck to put their games on their servers because they killed the market, like I said. So because you had people trained not to buy it. You can have a lot of people come and flood my page saying, oh, I buy games. 1,000 of you could say that, but that's nothing compared to the 99%, which are like almost at 30 or 31 million. And that's not many. That's not how many are even active. You know what I mean? That's how many they say have sold, but how many are really on? So you have to find that as well. But how many are active? You know what I mean? The mass majority, they're just not going to want to buy anything. So ratio wise, what is the majority of people that are not buying games on Xbox and are going to Game Pass? The mass majority. So therefore, that is concluded. That's pretty obvious. Common sense. You don't have to even look up anything. If you can't notice that, I don't know what to tell you. The Xbox gamers don't buy games. You see? It just sounds foolish. Unbelievable, man. Look at the current state of games and the stats around this. Before you start blasting out this misinformation about Xbox gamers. That's insane. Xbox gamers will buy GTA and drones. I said, you have to look at the stats that have been present for years. Xbox gamers have under 1% attachment ratio. It is. It is very low, and they've been hit their numbers since the Xbox One era. This is why they need to paycheck people. No sales will happen. Is this anything new? I mean, I think this was widely accepted and obvious a long time ago. So what are you talking about? Misinformation. This is obvious. To be honest, it's this Xbox gamers don't buy games nonsense, which is kind of annoying. You don't. The majority of the community is not buying games. It's like the majority of the PlayStation community was not buying Astrobot and not buying Death Stranding. But God of War sold a lot. But you don't ever get those sales over there in the Xbox. Well, it doesn't exist. It can't. The market is done. You know what I mean? That's what Microsoft did. And now they've moved Game Pass to PC. And then you're grabbing combined numbers of multiple markets and stuff on the mobile to make it even look that way. You're not even seeing Game Pass individually only on the Xbox ecosystem. It's a sinkhole. There's no way that would ever made them any money. They had to combine all that together. And then I hear people coming in reporting stuff, which I'm going to get to in a second. All I'm doing is telling you the truth here. I use the same service as you. So what? Because I'm saying, telling the truth in this video that you're not allowed to use the service anymore or something? This is why I say, like, am I talking to men or am I talking to children? You see what I mean? It's the same on PlayStation, but it seems to get a pass. What do you mean? I'm glad that you at least seem to notice these discrepancies. The thing is, people are missing is that the Xbox user base is a dwarf compared to other competitions. It's a much smaller base. I know that. The ecosystem that they have created has given people choices to use other devices. Dude, the only reason anybody's ever going to do that is because their ecosystem did not work. So I don't want to hear that as an excuse, bro. That's all I have to say. So he'll show up again because he's over here. We're gonna backtrack here. Let's start off with this guy right here. This is what I mean by like fanboy projections and thinking that somebody's wrong because they feel a certain way. This type of stuff I don't like. I subbed to Game Pass in 2023 and then realized that I wasted 10 months of that subscription after Starfield released and was the only new game that I actually used it for. So hear what he just said. In 2023, this was his experience. He got Starfield. It was the only new game that he cared about, that he actually used it for, and that game was mid to him. He didn't like it. A lot of people felt that way about Starfield. I understand. So to him, it was a waste of money. Valid. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. That's his experience. He's allowed to say that. They still have yet to release a true must-play AAA banger for Game Pass as far as I'm concerned. So for his world, it doesn't work. Remember, Game Pass is only 4% of the actual gaming community. 5, 6, 7% if you want to include PC and all that. Yeah, sure. That's no problem. I don't mind that. So what about the rest of the like 93, 94% that never look at that service? See, they're not really interested in it. That's a widely accepted thing worldwide. Everybody's like that. Japan, they don't care. You know what I mean? Asia, they don't care. You know what I mean? Europe, they really don't care. A portion. America, big time more. And then certain other parts of the world because it's insanely expensive, so I can understand that. So here comes Calm again. Hey, man, I'm just saying. What a strange comment. What do you mean? That's a pretty much an average, everyday mindset in the gaming community. But because you live in the Xbox world, you're projecting the Game Pass mentality onto him. He's about to do it. You sub to Game Pass, and in that time, you say Starfield was the only game worth playing. That's his experience. That's probably how he felt. Not everybody plays multiple games like that. You see what I mean? And according to you, it was mid. What a load of nonsense. What are you talking about? A lot of people felt that way about Starfield. It even had very low ratings. It was underwhelming to some people for a Bethesda game. Microsoft thought that was going to be a pillar, and it didn't end up working. That's when they realized they had to go third party. That was one of those times where they realized, yeah, if that didn't work, that's it. It didn't do it. So to a lot of people, that was mid. It was even 30 frames. Like, so what a load of nonsense? No. Game Pass is a monthly service. You could just unsub anytime you want. So this 10-month thing sounds rather dubious. Huh? Literally constant games going into Game Pass for years. It's a huge value for money and many. Yeah, but these people could own these games on other platforms. It's always games that you could just buy. And in first-party games, sure, Microsoft games. But if he's not interested, Microsoft didn't have a lot of games out around that time. It was just Starfield for first-party. So what are you talking about? He could have a PC or whatever. This is what I mean. But you're coming in here to defend. Like, this guy's over-defending. Then you talk about Claire, but that has nothing to do with Microsoft. That's the team in France that made that. Whether Game Pass existed or not, it's still going to be at a 92 or 93 meta, have the same user rating, and it still would have sold what it would have sold. Actually, PlayStation it sells and PC sales are the reason why it sold that much. Microsoft paid a check to secure because they wouldn't have sold on there because you don't buy games. I'm talking about the whole entire community as a base. They don't want to. And it's just something they're really, really interested in. Helldivers is going to tell you some more, too. All we're talking about here is the obvious. I mean, this is nothing here You know what I mean? And anything heart breaking or anything. I mean, this is just obvious stuff. You're coming in being kind of bland and generic about, dude. Like, seriously, this guy did nothing wrong. And as a matter of fact, yeah, dude, I'm giving you a like just because you deserve to express the experience. But this is what I mean by fanboy mentalities. It's bad for any platform. They're coming in this sort of sense. And it's like, dude, why are we doing this stuff here? It doesn't make any sense to me. He's allowed to have that experience and project that. He didn't do anything wrong here. All right, let's keep going down here. We're not done here. So, does Lorien Studios want to cause problems with Xbox players? No, he just spoke the truth about his service. Don't they have better things to do after their very mediocre Baldur's Gate 3? Oh, no, 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 you did not. See, guys? No, man. No, 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 no. No, he did not call Baldur's Gate 3 mediocre. 96 meta, game of the year, competing head to head with Tears of the Kingdom, Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, back in that time. Multiple updates. Dude, are you out of your mind? Because this game is so good enough to not be put on a service, you want to downplay it because he actually came out and told the truth? See, this is what I'm saying. This is a fanboy. What did he come down and tell him, Doopy? Despite how you feel about Lorien Studios, Baldur's Gate 3 was not mediocre. Valid. That's one of the green games of all time, bro. You have to respect that. You don't go downplay something that was great because they developed a game that was successful and sold a ton of money, and they said, no way we look at that that way. Why would they? You know what I mean? Because their model is very successful. One of the top RPG developers when they did that. So it makes sense when you think about that intelligently. But instead, you got to defend it like a fanboy and got butthurt. Check it out. And you came in and said that Baldur's Gate 3 was mediocre. You are out of your mind. You're wrong on that. There's an opinion and then there's the obvious. No, sir. I don't think so. You see, no, sir. You're being blinded by like a fanboy, and it's making you project this. You should not be projecting that. LOL, all time. I like the exaggeration. It's laughable. GTA 5 was much bigger. What does GTA have to do with Baldur's Gate 3? That's crazy, man. All right. And Calm is back again. It's an interesting video, though you've missed sections of what happened at Tango Gameworks. No, I didn't. The developers leaving the initiative. Perfect Dark. And the loss of sight of whatever while it was. I didn't miss that. Dude, I've seen it all. What are you talking about? Assumptions, right? And you want to know what I find funny? We're going to get to this in a second. Personally, I think Game Pass is doing great. For us, yes. For the industry, no. I think the problem some people have is that they think profit should be higher than their competitors for some unknown reason. It's not necessarily just about profit, dude. It's about the damage that it does to the market and how it hurts developers. We're going to get into that in a second. What I see is if your business is making 3 to 4 billion a year in profit, misinformation, right? 3 to 4 billion a year in profit. You believe that? Who told you that? Some analysis suggests Game Pass is profitable even after accounting for content acquisitions, costs, and other expenses, with an estimated around 1 billion in profit. But there's other things they hide. Impact on game sales, high contrast costs, developer concerns, unsustainable model. There are some of those developers that have to pay a lot of money. If they're telling you, my game would have sold 1 million on the market at least, you know what I mean? And it's 60 or 70 dollars. So give me 60 to 70 million. One game. Some game they'll pay 100 million for. They're spending a lot of money. People were looking at revenue like, oh, it did like 3 point something or 2.9 billion in revenue. I said, but yeah, they're spending that though. It's going right back into a sinkhole. That's why they had to have Game Pass on PC and mobile. And even then they have to branch out after that because they're not getting enough subs. Dude, Netflix was in debt for years. You know how many subs they had to get to make that profitable? Boy, Microsoft gonna need like 80 million subs, bro. 100 million. Yes, that's how it is, man. That's how rough it is. No, man. They have to pay so much. You got server cost maintenance, cloud maintenance, all this stuff you're doing. You're not thinking about it. You're not thinking about all the things outside of that, bro. You're just reading that one little number that's showing you, but they're not going to tell you that. You have to find out. You have to be a detective. That's what I was trying to tell you. Like, I'm speaking about the industry, but I see people getting in their feelings because they like personal benefits. This person over here was right on this website. I just want you to hear what he said because this is a thing. The worst part is that Xbox fans don't even care. Like the people that are like too fanboyish, as long as they get their day one games on Game Pass, they don't bat an eyelid about studio closures or games underperforming sales wise. A lot of people are like this. They're already back to glazing. They really didn't care. I've seen it myself this week on social media and pure Xbox for people saying these studios closures take nothing away from amazing releases to come. These games were years away, so it doesn't matter, and Game Pass is still worth it. Yeah, they'll go right back into the Game Pass blindness while neglecting to see the bigger picture, 100%, and trying to push a positive narrative. Calling it out, because it's bull. This is what Game Pass has done to its player base. It has made them too reliant on the service while neglecting to buy games and actually support the devs. There's clearly going to be more closures and being blind to everything else outside of that. Layoffs and even price increases for Game Pass at some point. They will start to care, but probably when it's too late. That's pretty much it. It is like that. I've been saying this for years. Microsoft, Xbox's biggest strategic mistake is unsustainable Game Pass subscription model. They've spoiled the market for sales on their own consoles, and they will never have enough subscribers to make up the cost of these games. No, they don't. And in order to even get somebody to come out, you have to pay them money. If you were thinking about being Netflix, you're just going in debt and losing money because you don't have a rich corporation behind you saying, hey, man, come give me just, bill. No, you're going in debt then. You see what I mean? That's reality. That's obvious. You're going in debt. The only way it is to get bailed out by Satya Nadella, who's angry that he has to do this. You see what I mean? It's a vicious cycle at that point. So you got to find a way. And in order to do that, somebody's going to have to pay the price. It ain't going to be the rich people. Has this ever been anything new? No, it's not anything new. They spoiled the market for sales of their own consoles. Like I said, they killed their own market. This is why they are now porting and selling all their games on PlayStation, Nintendo, where games are still bought by people who want to play them and buy. You see what I mean? They want to buy those games. The demographics are high. Look at the attachment ratio for Mario Kart. It's like 80-something%. That's insane. You don't even get 1% on those platforms. Trying to tell you, man, like you really have to see that shit. And then even then, other stuff is like 27, 37% attachment ratio. That's insanely high. They built into that for years. We've all been saying that for years. They accuse us of being fanboys for stating something that held credible critical analysis. Those people who are the first to use the fanboy accusations are always the most actual fanboys. Yeah, tell me about that. I've dealt with that. So the $3-4 billion in profit, what are we talking about here? And who's misinforming people? Because the only valid information about that was them saying $1 billion in profit after account for content acquisitions costs and other expenses, but not fully deducted. I'm telling you, it's a sinkhole. And this is including PC and mobile. You see what I mean? But if we're just talking about Xbox compared to what Sony's doing only on PlayStation, bro, Sony, PlayStation Plus profit in 2018, $2.8 billion. PlayStation Plus contributed significantly to its growth with a notable increase in subscription, upgrading to higher tiers of premium and extra. PlayStation division achieved record revenue and operating income in fiscal year. PlayStation Plus growth, 38% subscriber. Like when you think about what the profit that they're getting, they're not spending the same as Microsoft. So it's not a sinkhole. And they're not saying PlayStation Plus needs to go to mobile. PlayStation Plus needs to go to PC. You know what I mean? But they are putting their games out on PC because they just want to make as much profit as possible. Everybody does. But if we're talking about what it's actually doing, profit, I didn't say revenue because you were trying to bring up what were they saying? Where is it at? Where is what Microsoft? I think it was 2.9 billion or whatever. You have to find the Game Pass. Game Pass revenue or whatever. 5.5 billion. They're trying to estimate this year, but that's a load of bullcrap. And that was generated by TweetTime. That was made up. Not anything real though. Let's find something that is, so here we go again. Total revenue of 2.9 billion. You see what I mean? They're telling you revenue, but they're not telling you profit. It's not the same thing. But you got people coming over here talking about profit. I'm like, what is this guy talking about? 3 to 4 billion a year in profit. Bro, what? Where? Because they have to spend so much to sustain that. They didn't even, like I said, they didn't even talk about server cost or any of that. No, man. That's not how this shit works. So, what do you have to say now that you're seeing more truth here? And who's misinforming people? Don't ever call me out talking about I'm spreading misinformation because you want to come here and over defend Microsoft on every damn post. Let's see if we can probably find them again. I'm going to be surprised if we scroll down here and found them again. Let's see. Does he exist anywhere else? There he is again. Tell me how it crashed. See, obvious again. I have to admit, the entire industry was going fine until Game Pass was introduced in 2017. Since then, everything was completely crashed. Tell me how it crashed. So he wants to defend again. Dude, if you can't see that, like I said, it crashed their market. Wake up. You can enjoy the service, but realize that it crashed the damn market. And look at the attachment ratio of games when they launch on the Xbox market. The percentage ratio, it's very low. Nobody's buying games. So that's the mass majority. Misinformation, son, you're out your mind. Remember, AGN spits facts and he keeps it real. If you can't handle that, then yeah, you start running away because that's all I see over here. All right, y'all, peace out. Have a great day. Let me know what y'all think about this. Like I said again, let me know where I was wrong, y'all. Let me know. Bring me some more information, please, because there are other information I've been looking at, but I have to look more into that. But, you know, I love doing this type of stuff. There's more content around the corner, obviously. But, yeah, we got to get through all of this. And like I said, it's not taking any game away from your library. It's not unsubbing you from Game Pass. Nothing has changed on your end. If you want to let it get to you that much, I don't know what to tell you because all we're doing here is just showing you the truth. Later, y'all. Peace out.